Google has released Lumiere, which is their text-to-video AI generation model. We're just going to go through what they've released, what it looks like, what are the results, and what we can expect from Lumiere. So we can take a look here and we can see that all of these were actually were generated based on the prompt. So for example, here we have a sailboat sailing on a sunny day in a mountain lake. Now it's quite a generic prompt, but even though that's the case, it got that pretty much precisely in terms of what is going on. If you take a look at the sun shining through, I mean, that is so clear in terms of what you would expect. And you know, this really doesn't come as a surprise when you think about how much Google, which obviously owns YouTube, has access to so many videos, because clearly they've been able to train so much data on all the videos that they have. A young couple walking in heavy rain. So, I mean, that looks pretty much clear. I mean, you do see some mistakes with the legs, I guess, but if you were to just cover that bottom half, you would think that's a real video, you know, that was maybe shot on like an iPhone. There were some things that I think were pretty interesting, such as maybe something like this, where we have certain scenarios where they pretty, you know, insane, confident teddy bear surfer rides the waves in the tropics. Now, obviously that's impossible, but I think it did capture that aspect insanely well when you have to think about the scenario that is being placed. I'm just looking at this sushi one. It says 360 camera shot of a sushi roll in a restaurant. And I must say, I mean, that looks pretty believable. I think if I didn't know that that was generated, I mean, there's nothing here that does not look real actually. This looks very realistic. And looking at this colorful fish swimming underwater, now obviously this is very generic, so it was able to really work on this, but I mean, that looks so realistic. It's almost impossible to believe that that's not. I mean, you see the fish swimming apart. You see it got everything correct in terms of where the placement of the water to the coral to the actual fish that look very realistic. They were even able to capture the light as it's on the fish, which is what you would see in many of these videos where if you go deep down, you have to use a light because it's too dark. So all of these things are being captured fairly accurately. Now, obviously we can see this panda playing a ukulele at home does not look believable at all, but I guess such a scenario is so unrealistic that it was finding difficulty to get it right. But even then, probably the best text to video generation that I think we've seen publicly. Here we have chocolate syrup pouring on vanilla ice cream. And you can even just see when the syrup pours, I mean, it spreads out just as you would expect it in real life. We have an area around young hiker man standing on mountain peak summit at sunrise. We see the mountains, we see the mist, him at the top of the mountain, his arms out. So if you just take a look at all of these, I mean, pretty unbelievable. We have this dog with his tongue sticking out. We have a dog driving a car on a suburban street wearing funny sunglasses. Seems like the dog is driving backwards, but anyway, I mean, that's just, and this is again super photorealistic, the blooming cherry tree in the garden, beautiful sunlight which looks super real. So I would say that this is probably the best text to video that we've seen. For some reason, the fish are just unbelievably good. It just seems like the fish is something they have so much data on that they could just get that right. So I think if you just take a look at this, it seems like it's very obvious that this is something that I think really a lot of time and attention was paid. You know, we saw a lot of things coming out from Stable Diffusion, even in 2023. But if we were to compare what we saw then compared to now, I mean, I think this is leaps and bounds, because at this point it's just only, you know, a matter of a few months probably where we would be able to see a full commercial and we would not even be able to tell that it was generated with AI, just because of how strong the visuals come across as being realistic. I mean, if you look at this woman, back view of a young woman dressed in a bright yellow jacket walk in outdoor forest, that could be a real, you know, someone is walking with a person moving the camera in a very like photorealistic way. But if we just move on to the image to video, and here, what's going on is you're able to give image, a still image, and then from that still image create a video. So obviously this is the iconic Vermeer painting that's been turned in. I think this is something that we've seen a lot of, so this isn't something that is completely new, but I think what makes this different is that we haven't seen something that was able to go into this much detail. You know, there was quite popular trend of having, you know, people talking in a lot of these videos done last year that went viral of, like, you know, different characters speaking with their mouths, and it was like a still image. But obviously here, I mean, this turtle swimming, it's, you know, more detailed in the sense of you can see how this turtle is like moving its head and how it's walking around the water. You can see how this, you know, this teddy bear dancing in the snow is showing movement that's really like dancing movements, as you would expect. So I think maybe obviously there's still some work to be done here to make this look as realistic as possible. If you look at that, I mean, that just looks terrifying, but it's still incredibly good. And I think, again, we haven't really seen anything at this level before. So let's look at the stylized generation. Now, in the stylized generation, you use a single reference image, and Lumiere can generate videos in the target style by utilizing fine-tuned text-to-image model weights. So we can hover over and see the prompt. So essentially, you just give them the style reference image, and it will be able to create the image based on that. So a family of ducks swimming in a pond based on this sort of stylized image. This is like clip art images, which you see a lot, you know, like free to use clip art images, and you'll be able to create all these different birds and animals and characters. Here it's more stylized, like an artistically, like a golden stylized, maybe like modern art or something. And again, you're able to create something based off of that. And here it's more like 3D images, which is pretty popular, and you're able to get a bear dancing, a colorful parrot showing off its vibrant feathers. Yeah, this parrot is actually pretty insane, to be honest. A dolphin, a swan, a graceful swan gliding across a serene lake. And then here again, based on this sort of neon style, creating some animals based off of that. Okay, and then we have the video stylization, which is what says with Lumiere off-the-shelf text-based image editing methods can be used for consistent video editing. So you give the source material, and then based off of that, you'll be able to create something new based on the prompt that you give it. So here's a dog, and then dog made of wooden blocks, dog with the origami folded paper art, dog made of colorful toy bricks, and then dog made of flowers. So in each case, they take the source video and they're able to build on that to create the final video cut. But really, I mean, honestly, just think about like how powerful this is. It makes creation of video and content so easy that anyone will be able to create, you know, these incredible imaginative videos of like basically anything. It'll just make it so easy. So if we look at the cinemagraphs, it says the Lumiere model is able to animate the content of an image within a specific user provided region. This is something we saw a lot with Adobe. You know, Adobe was doing a lot of this, but I guess now with Google doing it as well, it'll just make it easier because you can do everything in this one Lumiere app. So again, we have things like smoke, fire, butterfly moving, water rippling effect, water moving in the mountains. Yeah, I think this butterfly is actually really good at capturing that. And then finally, the in painting, basically it's like you're able to complete an image. So you give an image that's not full, and then it's able to complete that image based on like what's most likely to be there. And yeah, if you just look at these, pretty flawless. I mean, even this cake is impressive, but obviously the pizzas, you would not know at all in terms of that pizza, except for the fact that it has basil already. This is pretty much impossible to know that this wasn't complete from the beginning. And then here we have this dog, which again, it's just capturing everything so well. And then here we have the source video where you're able to change certain parts of the video depending on what you give. So instead of, you know, this normal dress, you say gold strapless gown, striped strapless dress, purple strapless dress, black strapless gown, and then it's able to change based on that. So it's clear that, you know, all of these features are incredibly impressive, but probably what everyone is going to lose their minds over is the text to video, because I think this is where we're going to start to see huge changes over the next coming months and years, where, you know, you think about advertising companies, video production companies, they're definitely going to lean quite heavily into this if they can come out with output that is just as real as, you know, what would cost a day and hours of filming and can be done in a few minutes in a office. That would really change so much. So I think the thing that really just captivates is the text to video. All these other features are incredible as well, but the text to video I think is going to be huge. So that's just my take on the Lumiere, which is, I think, pretty big. I think this is a pretty big announcement. I think this is a pretty big step forward. I think this is a pretty big leap. I mean, obviously, we still have to wait for this to be released, but we can expect it come. Definitely, we will be able to see a product that we can use that would look something like this, and we would have these features. You know, like, what do you think? Do you think that this is something that you would use? I definitely think that if this is released, like, I'm definitely going to use this. I'm going to definitely take a look at it and see what I'm able to create from it, you know, because I just think it's so realistic.